Okay, so I think we're going to start when people start joining. I'll go ahead with the introduction. So, hello everyone, and welcome to the February 2024 OpenEdX Meetup. My name is Esteban Echeverri. I'm co-founder of Bolas Neo, an OpenEdX partner, and I am a member of the marketing working group. So today we will have two presentations. First, we will have John Swope, founder of Me, an OpenEdX partner, and we'll share a demonstration of the latest DemoX course, right? That has been renewed after almost 10 years. So that's going to be the first presentation. And then we will meet the new community members of the OpenEdX Technical Oversight Committee. And we will be able to listen to other introductions and ask questions. And for that, let me tell you that we're going to use Slido for the questions, right? So I'm going to share now really quick the QR code where you will be able to add the questions, right? I'm going to share it later too, but you can start accessing the Slido for the second presentation, right? So you can ask questions and vote the questions that are there, right? So we're going to share this one also in the room chat if you want to access via link, and if not, you can access with your mobile device to this QR, right? So let me stop the presentation. There we go. So remember that the meeting will be recorded. So if you want to turn off your camera and you want to appear in the recording, please go ahead. And if you have any questions for John Swope's presentation, please add them in the room chat. And after his presentation, well, we're going to do a quick Q&A session for any doubts that you may have. So I want to thank you, Eden Hoodmeyer and Nicole Kessler, Nicole from Outside Technology, another OpenEdX provider, and Eden from Axiom Collaborative for all the efforts that we put together to bring you this meetup. Now, please go ahead, John, with your presentation of the long expected new version of the DemoX course.
Sure. Thanks, Esteban. Thanks, Esteban and Eden, as always, for organizing these. So I am, first of all, very excited to give this presentation today. And I'm excited because it's not every day that one can present about something that is totally free and hopefully makes everyone in this community, everyone's jobs easier. That's the goal, easier with this new DemoX course. So by way of introduction, my name is John Swope. I'm a self-professed edtech nerd. I find myself getting into AI rabbit holes every other day. It's made it difficult to get work done on a regular basis. I run a company called Curriculum. We do full service course development, specializing in the edX.org and the OpenEdX platform. And I've been a very proud member of this community for the last 10 years, 10 plus years. And we're going to talk about today for about 15 minutes is the OpenEdX demo course, which is available now. You can go, you can download it, while I'm speaking potentially, and use it today in your organization. So before we get to the agenda, I want to start with just the first thing, which is how do we, as members of this community, as people that are in this room, benefit from a new DemoX course? I am hopeful that this, like I said, makes everyone's jobs easier and better. If you are in sales, I am hopeful that this course inspires confidence in potential customers, folks that are benchmarking against other platforms, folks that need kind of inspiration that OpenEdX is a tool that can serve their needs. And I'm going to use the term inspiration a lot. It's one of the core benefits, the core goals with this new course. If you're in the business of hosting and support, I hope that it encourages more customers to build using the templates in this DemoX course. The more customers that have quality courses that they're proud of, that students are enrolled in, that students are active in, the less reason they have to consider any other platform besides OpenEdX. And then if you're a course developer, like myself, I hope that you can reuse the components in this course. Like I said before, I've worked in this platform for over 10 years, and I've worked with the community to build this course and try to kind of source the very best from the community and how we are pushing the platform, how we are using kind of the flexibility that's built into Open edX to build components in this course, and then to make those components reusable for the consumers of this course. So given that, now let's get into a very brief agenda. I mean, what we're going to talk about is kind of three parts to this. We're going to talk about kind of the history of the DemoX course. We're going to look at the discovery work done for this course, the process of building the new DemoX V2 course, and then look through the course and what it has to offer. So starting with history, in the beginning, everyone is familiar with this thumbnail. If you install Open edX for the last 10, 12 years, this has been what you see. Everyone is familiar with this video. Over the years, people have become more familiar with this message when YouTube started to change their privacy restrictions, and videos started showing this message. We've started getting 404 errors when links started to break. Certain X blocks have gone out of support and started failing. JavaScript, again, gone out of support and started failing in the demo course. I'm not sure what this error is, but it came up last time I was going through it. Google Hangouts, for example, there's a couple instances of this. Google Hangouts have not been a thing for several years. Those are still in the demo course. And then very importantly, there's a whole lot of kind of brand confusion that comes from the original DemoX course, where, you know, it was really built by edX.org, and there's all this kind of confusing branding between edX.org and Open edX, which is a very different relationship at the time that the original DemoX course was built. So long story short, we are, you know, at the end of 2023, when this project started, we are well overdue for a refresh. And so the first thing we did is we talked to the community to determine what is important about an Open edX demo course. What do you want to see in an Open edX demo course? And far and away, people wanted practical, reusable examples. Followed by, again, this word inspire. That when inspire course creators, that Open edX is the right tool for them. It's important for people that are in hosting, people that are selling the platform. Want to teach basic usage and navigation of the LMS. Want to provide support and how-tos about how to set up your courses the way that's supposed to end. Explain the mission and vision of Open edX, and then introduce users to the larger edX ecosystem, larger Open edX ecosystem, like how to get support. And that is us. That is us in this room. That's the community. That's the ecosystem that Open edX operates in. Further on in our research, we want to take a look at how people are using the DemoX course. And again, this is the existing DemoX course, the previous one. So obviously most people know about it. It comes packaged with Open edX, and most people keep it on there. The majority of people do know of the DemoX course. They have been in the DemoX course. They have referred to the DemoX course. But interestingly, the majority of people don't actually use the components. And to me, that's a gap. I think that means that there are components that are not serving people's needs, and there are components that are not reusable enough. So that's a gap that we want to solve. Additionally, we know that users are introduced to the DemoX course in two really, really critical places. The majority of users are introduced to the DemoX course either at the procurement stage, when they're deciding to buy or implement Open edX, and they are benchmarking Open edX against their competitors, and they want to be inspired. They want to be able to make the case to their procurement that, you know, hey, this is the tool that can do what we need it to do. And the second most common place people are introduced to the DemoX course is in the onboarding stage, where Open edX has been purchased, has been implemented, and many stories of faculty or course creators being introduced to the Open edX platform. This is what we're using now through the DemoX course. How do I use Open edX? Well, here's the demo course. This should tell you. And needless to say, that these are crucial entry points to this platform. And what we want a demo course to do is to be able to give these people the confidence that Open edX can be the solution that they are looking for in these two critical phases. So given this, now we know our audience. So our primary audience in this course is course creators, anyone that develops courses. That could be training teams, faculty, instructional designers. Secondarily is students. We do know from our research that the original DemoX course is not infrequently given to students as kind of their own onboarding to the platform. It is very difficult to build a course that is purely targeted towards students because of the many ways that you can deliver online training. It's quite a task to say, this is, you know, how students can be onboarded. And so what we've done to kind of try to ameliorate that is we've built a course that you will see if you go through it is it goes, each module goes from general to more specific, where in the beginning of a module, when it's general, it's probably appropriate for both course creators and students. You know, we're talking about terminology, basic tools, how to use them, and gets more specific as it goes. So there is a world, there's no recipe for this, but there is a world where you can take this course and kind of cut off the pieces that are irrelevant to student and make it a more student-facing course. We wanted to keep as much as possible that kind of audience as a secondary audience. And our primary goals, I'll talk about the two primary goals. One is, like we got from our research, to demonstrate practical examples of Open edX components. Two is to inspire, again, inspire on almost every slide here, to inspire course creators that Open edX is the right platform for them. And then followed by providing support and how-tos about how to set up your course, teaching basic usage, terminology of Open edX, LMS and CMS, gaining an understanding of how to leverage the Open edX ecosystem. Again, that's us. So how do you get support? How do you contribute back? Recognizing the mission of the Open edX software, and then finally recognizing the stability, power, and reach of the Open edX platform. So this is the first video. This is the first video that people see to try to get that point across, that inspiration across. And so what I will do, I should be sharing sound. So what I will do is I'll play this, and if sound is not being shut up with the chat, just ping me, and but I'll try to share sound and do full screen. It's a 3-minute video. We're going to watch the whole video. It's a little under 3 minutes. We're going to watch the whole video, and then I will come back afterwards.
Welcome to the Open edX platform.
It's choppy. Hang on. There's a way to optimize video. Let me do that. Okay, that should be a little better.
Welcome to the Open edX platform. The Open edX platform is the free-to-use learning management system developed by Harvard and MIT, and with the stated mission to democratize education and power advances in learning. Today, the Open edX software is in use by over 4,500 organizations, teaching over 70 million learners across 50 languages and 100 different countries. The Open edX platform is an all-in-one solution that includes a traditional student-facing LMS, a CMS backend for creating courses, mobile apps for iOS and Android, analytics, e-commerce, and many, many more community-developed plugins and extensions. Because the platform is open source, that means the software is available freely. No fees or permissions are needed to run your own Open edX instance. It also means that you can customize the Open edX platform for your unique needs. The software has been successfully leveraged to deliver large open online courses, small blended courses, corporate training, and more. Getting started with your first course is easy. The intuitive drag and drop editor allows you to create a course and add your first videos, text, and questions within minutes. Incorporate inline discussions to get your students talking about your content. Easy so far? Once you're comfortable with the basics, you can incorporate things like peer assessment problems or polls and surveys. Using a mix of native, flexible, and community-built component types, you will be well on your way to developing impactful courses for your learners. You can even build your own components, called X blocks, and customize the platform for your own specific learning case. And once your course is running, Open edX aspects can provide you information about your learners and their progress through the course. The software uses industry-standard security best practices and proactively fixes security issues to maintain a secure open-source platform that you can rely on. There is still lots more to discover about the Open edX platform. If you ever find yourself needing support, there is an active, passionate community of supporters, as well as a marketplace of vendors who can support everything from development to customization to course development. Welcome to the Open edX platform and the community supporting it. We're glad you're here. Welcome.
There we are. So let me turn off optimize. So I personally think that in a lot of cases, Open edX sells itself. The goal here, again, is to inspire. It's to inspire folks that the Open edX platform can deliver the program that they envision, whatever that program might be, at low cost and with flexibility. So this is the structure of the course. It comes in 5 modules. I'll talk through each one and we'll look at a couple of examples. The first module is just a general overview of the Open edX platform, terminology, LMS, CMS, sections, subsections, and a distinction importantly between, what is Open edX and what is the edX.org organization, and what is the community that supports Open edX. Second is crafting content, so the basics from text, images, and videos, as well as some of the new tools that have come up over the last 10 years or so, libraries, conditionals, custom styling. The third is about assessments. This is the longest, densest module. It is this library of reusable practical examples for many of the tools offered by the Open edX platform. We try to get every core tool that was supported in there and in kind of an inspirational, reusable way for folks. Module 4 is social learning, so social tools like discussions, polls, surveys, teams, cohorts. And then module 5 is a module I'm really excited about. It's a module about how to find support and be involved in the Open edX community. So the Open edX community, people in this room, essentially come packaged with the Open edX platform at this point. So this is just a list of the course components that are throughout the course. I mean, things like SCORM, numerical input libraries, text input, done, XBlock, cohorts, and we'll talk about some of these highlighted ones here, because what we wanted to do is we wanted to show people of some ways to kind of get the most out of Open edX. And so this is a standard, I know the text is small, but this is a standard page, especially in the assessments area. We tried to do a couple of things here. We tried in this course, what we didn't want to do is we didn't want to duplicate maintenance. We didn't want to create a maintenance headache. And so at the top in this documentation area, we'll give kind of a brief blur about what a particular component, so in this case, we're talking about staff graded assignment. Talk about what a particular component is for, kind of common use cases for it, and then we'll link off to any relevant documentation or GitHub repositories. Because again, we don't want to create that documentation in here and then find ourselves in a world of pain a year or two down the road when documentation changes and we're maintaining it in 2 different places. Secondly is a try it exercise, kind of how you can use this particular component. So in this case, the staff graded assignment, upload something, grade it, and then a working sample. And if we couldn't do a working sample, an example being like SCORM, where the SCORM package doesn't get imported with a course. If we couldn't do a working sample, we would have a video demo of it. And then uniquely at the bottom, it's a little hard to see here, but it's the text that says, do you find this page useful? And there's 3 options, happy face, medium face, and sad face, where we can get anonymized feedback. So there's a little widget, that little widget's at the bottom of every single page. And this is also reusable too. It's not an XBlock if someone wants to build it, or maybe we should talk about that, but it is reusable. It's in this course. Little feedback widget that will send feedback anonymously to a database that Axum controls, and in this way we can get feedback from a lot of people, and on occasions kind of go back and analyze that feedback, determine what units are working well, what units are not working well, and try to kind of diagnose what our users need. And we've always had Slack and GitHub and things, but for those that maybe don't have access to those or don't feel comfortable using those, this is a really nifty way, I think, to get feedback from especially kind of our brand new users of the Open edX platform. And this was an idea from OpenHPI, who I'll talk about later in this call as well. So now I'm just going to go through a couple examples. We're not going to actually go into the course for the sake of time, but I'll show a couple things that I think are unique and different here. So when we talk about reusable examples, one that I like a lot is this JavaScript grading example. So I think the old JavaScript sample is like a drop down that says, choose the right answer, choose the wrong answer, and if you choose the right answer, you get a point. And it's hard to really distinguish what does JavaScript do with and not just this kind of drop down here. So what we've done here is we built kind of a choose your own adventure type case study. We built it in a tool called Twinery, which I use a decent amount. Just exports kind of an HTML game type object that you can then embed in the course, and then use the JavaScript grader to integrate that into the course. So you'll see at the end of this that that Open edX itself can store a grade and provide feedback based on how a user went through the course. So either they got it right, they got full credit, they got some things wrong. You can give feedback, specialized feedback on what they got wrong potentially, and store that in the course along with a grade, full point, full credit, half credit. And so it's not too hard to reuse this yourself and say, all right, I'm going to take the skeleton of this and I'll build my own, choose your own adventure or case study, and input that into the platform. And again, totally natively supported. Python grading as well. I mean, Python grading problems, tend to center around math, and this is also a math problem, but it's unique in that everything in this problem depends on how the user answers the first problem. So you answer the first problem, it's a made-up scenario about traveling across the desert, how much water and how many days it's going to take. So depending on how many people you bring with you, that changes the math going forward. And with this particular problem, it's set up so that you get partial credit for, you see there's 4 boxes there, you get partial credit for things being partially correct, you get custom feedback depending on what you got wrong. And so it's a nice template, again, for people to use and reuse, hopefully for their own scenarios. Code grading, obviously something that's become a lot more important. How do we do data science course? How do we do code courses in the Open edX platform? Let me play this. There's no sound to this video, so you're not missing any sound here. So what we're doing here is we're using the LTI connection to talk to a Jupyter Notebook instance, and that Jupyter Notebook instance has been generously donated by OpenHPI, and where a user is able to go through this kind of data science exercise and then submit a grade back to Open edX. There's also there's a second code example in the course that uses a tool called CodeBoard, which is a free, I believe open source, but it's a free tool. It's a little more basic, obviously, than like this Jupyter Notebook, but it's a free tool that also can use LTI to, embed real coding exercises into the course and have that grade sent back to Open edX. And so the long story short, for the user, hopefully, is that no matter what you're looking for, edX does have the chops to be able to do it for you, and demonstrations of doing that. So what can people do next? You can download it. So I will, or someone, I don't know if Ian or someone can paste this link in the chat. I should have had it ready, sorry. You can download it. You can get the tar.gz file. You can use it, please do. And you can provide feedback. So you can either provide feedback via that feedback widget, or via GitHub or via Slack. I am now a maintainer of this course along with folks on the Axum side. We will see it and we'll try to incorporate what we can. And would really encourage, community usage and feedback on the course. And in conclusion, I'll just close by thanking the many community members that are involved in putting this together. Serena, Kyle, Fanil from Axum, Mohammed, and the OpenHPI team for ideas, as well as the Jupyter Notebook instance that you saw. Julia Mullen's been a long time community member that many of us know, who I run a lot of ideas past her. Matthew Harrington, he wrote a lot of the text that you'll find in the course about, what is this component, what does it do? Matthew wrote a lot of that text. Colin Fredericks donated a lot of his really interesting tools and examples that he's spent as long as I have, working in this platform, and has built some really interesting stuff, which we've incorporated into the course. And then the whole community for any, feedback on Slack and in the surveys and in the meetings. We did our best to put as much as we can from the community into this course. And, in conclusion, my hope is that this is an asset that everyone in the community finds really, really useful, no matter, what you do or where you sit in the Open edX community. We hope this is a useful tool for you. So thank you for your time. I'll be on the carpet afterward. Managed to book myself, so try to leave a tiny bit early, but I will answer as many questions as there are. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, John. Let's see, we have 1 or 2 minutes. If someone has any questions, they can put it here in the chat, in the room chat, or presentation room chat.
Yep. Thanks, Colin, for sharing that link.
So we do have one question. Well, yes, I think everyone agrees that it's a great presentation and a great course. So congratulations on that. So if you were to describe the course in 3 adjectives, what would they be?
Inspiration, reusability, and relevance. Let's use 3. Inspiration is number 1, but then reusability and relevance. It's relevant to where I think the platform is today versus where it was earlier.
Right. Excellent. One more. So why there was such a long wait for the DemoX course to be updated?
That's a good question. I don't know. Is there anyone on Axum that that wants to chip in there. I don't know. I think we all recognize the need, for a long time, and we're a community here, and it's about stepping up, and and I think that as a community we are getting better at understanding that there are needs obviously in this platform, and that we as a community can step up and fill those needs. That's the best answer I have. I mean, I don't know if anyone else wants to add to that.
That's great. So one more question here from Fakir. What verticals will find the course relevant? Is it mostly the higher education? Sorry.
Let me go back to the. Well, I don't need to share it necessarily, but like, I don't think so. No, I think like I said before, this is for it's targeted for course developers, because I think that regardless of if you're procurement, you want to know that an LMS can do whatever requirements your people have given you, and you want to know that your course developers can build courses on it. If you are a student, you don't get a choice in it. So our main target was anyone that develops courses in the edX platform. I work with a lot of different people that work, a lot of different types of course developers, from government to private organizations to higher ed. And I'm not gonna, someone else who goes through this course may have a different answer than me, but what I try to do is take a pretty representative sample of what people need, and include that in this course. So I'm trying not to say everyone, but we did try to make this course pretty representative, as long as the focus is on how do I develop really compelling courses in the edX platform, which ultimately, no matter what role you're in, that's the goal, right? So
that's great. Thank you, John. Yeah, it's a very graphic proof of concept, right? So this is what can be built. I think that's a very good goal that has been accomplished. Well, we're running out of time for this session. Feel free to contact John after the next presentation in the unstructured area. Carpets, or look for John Carpets. Don't remember which one exactly, but
I think it's E.
E, yeah, maybe.
I think so. Yeah.
Great. So thank you again, John, and it's a great presentation. Now let's welcome Xavier, Ed, and Regis. Please come to the top of the carpet area. There you go. So now I will hand it to you this part of the presentation, and well, I'll be here just if you need any help. Just go ahead with your presentations and your event. Thank you.
Sounds good. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent. I wanted to start by thanking Eden and Esteban and all the organizers for all these meetups. These are fantastic events, and take a moment to really celebrate the work that John and everyone involved in the demo course have done. I think this is a really huge upgrade over what we had previously. I hope everybody sees the value and gets a lot of value out of it. So thank you to all of the people involved in that. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my slides. Okay, looks like everybody can see that. First, I'll briefly introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ed Zarakor. I'm the VP of Engineering at Axum. I'm also the chair of the Technical Oversight Committee. And what we wanted to do, I think the Technical Oversight Committee, I'll get into this, was an organization that was created when the stewardship of Open edX moved from edX Incorporated to Axum Collaborative. We'll get into some of the details of that, but I think the organization, its role, its place in the community is not as clear as it could be. And I would say that the visibility of members of the TOC and the activities of the TOC are also not as visible to the community. So those are things that we, as the Technical Oversight Committee, have been thinking about and focusing on. So one of our first steps is meeting with you today to talk a little bit more about the group and to introduce some of the newest members. This is the QR code that Esteban had shared earlier. So if you're not already in Slido, I'll have this one more time in the presentation, but take a moment to load Slido up because we're going to be using it for questions. We're going to have a roundtable near the end where we'll have an opportunity to ask questions directly to members of the TOC who will join on the podium today. Take a moment to load up Slido and ask questions, but also upvote existing questions. If you're interested in a question that's already been asked, upvote it so we'll know which questions are most interesting to the group. All right, so I hinted at this a little bit already, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the origin of the TOC. Open edX was released under an open source license by edX Incorporated in 2013 and was an open source project for a long time without really a clear way for members of the community, no matter how influential they were or important to the community, to engage in leadership positions in the project. And during the process of figuring out what it would mean to move the project from edX Incorporated to a new nonprofit, we looked around at lots of other open source projects to see what they were doing to have a leadership that was inclusive and representative of the members of the community, and a technical oversight committee or a steering committee for the project was a pretty standard mechanism that was used. So it was actually in some of the details of the deal that moved the project to Axum, where the establishment of the TOC was specified, right? So it is an organ, it's actually there's a charter for it. It's captured in some of the deal terms. It is a mechanism that was meant to make the leadership of the project more inclusive. And we'll talk a little bit about the structure of the project and sort of how the structure of the TOC a little bit later, but focusing on the role of the TOC, it has members, representatives from Axum, from 2U, and from the community who are elected. I think most people are aware that we have, initially it was annual elections, now elections every 2 years to choose members from the community to join the TOC. The TOC is not meant to be some kind of star chamber or organization that gets involved in the day-to-day activities of the project. We have really well-established things already, like working groups and processes like OEPs and ADRs for making architectural decisions in an open way. The TOC is more in place to provide guidance around this sort of strategic direction of the project, to potentially resolve conflicts when members of the community were unable to kind of converge on a decision around an architectural direction. Specifically, like we've called out decisions that are really hard to reverse. Like, for example, if someone proposed that we should move off of Django to some other platform, that would be a decision that would be really hard to reverse, and we would want to take that decision with a lot of input, and we would want to have the TOC as a body would be kind of the ultimate decider if we were going to take a decision of that gravity. It turns out in our community, we really don't have a lot of conflict and difficulty reaching consensus. I think we have a community that's open and collaborative, so that hasn't been a need. We haven't had to escalate any decisions to date to the TOC to try to get, sort of have them help us converge. That hasn't been a need. Okay, and as I said a little bit earlier, the TOC is made up of 9 members from three kind of groups. First being Axum. I'm one of the representatives of Axum, and Harvard and MIT have both a member that represent Axum as well, Dustin Tingley and Ferdi Amadawa. I don't think Dustin and Ferdi are with us today. And then 3 community members, Regis Bemo, who many of you know, he's with us today. He'll be part of the panel later. Ignacio Despajol from UP Valencia. He is unfortunately unable to be with us today, but he's provided a video introduction. And Xavier Antoviak is with us today as well. The 2U are Anant Agarwal, the founder of edX, George Babby, who's with us today. if we get him up on the stage, he has to leave a little early, but maybe we'll get him up for a few minutes on the stage as well. And Virginia Mace Fletcher, who is the CTO of 2U. All right. It's notable that the members from the community are chosen to represent a particular constituency of the Open edX community, because we wanted to make sure that the needs and the goals of those constituencies were considered in conversations that the TOC has. It doesn't necessarily mean that the member is from that constituency, but often they are, but they have to put themselves in the position of representing the needs and the goals of those constituencies. So we can go through that quickly so you'll understand. So the first constituency is the core community representative, representing core contributors of all sorts, and that person is currently Regis. The second constituency is instructors, representing folks who are building courses on Open edX and teaching with Open edX. That is Ignacio Nacho from UPV. And finally, the TOC member representing learners is Xavier and Tobiak. All right. So, well, I should have added George to this slide, but I didn't know he was coming until just a little while ago. But the four members of the TOC that are here today are myself, Regis, virtually Nacho, and Xavier. And right now I've optimized my video, but I'm going to give a little introduction that Nacho recorded. So one moment, I'll play this.
Hello, I'm Nacho Despujol, the MOOC Initiative Coordinator of Universitat Politécnica de Valencia in the east coast of Spain, and we have an instance of OpenEdX that's called updx.es, and we are members of edX.org. And during the last 2 years, I've been coordinating with the public Spanish universities from Madrid a project in collaboration with edX to add on-campus capabilities to OpenEdX, because I think that OpenEdX is one of the best LMSs, but lacks some functionalities that would let it enlarge its pool of sites where it can be used. I think that we have a very good future with OpenEdX, and that's why I joined, or I applied for the Technical Oversight Committee. And together with the other people like Xavier, like Regis, like Ed, I will try to make my best to be able to go further in this transition from being an open source community with some peculiarities to a real open source community. Hello.
Oh, sorry. There we go. All right. I wanted to share the link to Slido one more time for anybody who missed it, but also take an opportunity for the other community TOC members to introduce themselves. So I think you're both up on the plenary, so I'm going to mute, and why don't we start with you, Xavier? Introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your goals for being a member of the TOC.
Sure. Thanks, Ed. Well, so on my side, I think I already know a good portion of you, but I'm a long-time OpenEdX contributor. Basically, I was there when the project was open sourced, and so I've followed a bit the evolution of the project from a pretty proprietary software to what it is becoming now, hopefully a real strong open source project. So in the meantime, I created OpenCraft, which is one of the providers on OpenEdX and a big contributor to the platform as much as we can. And I've also worked on open source communities pretty much all my career and before. So I've been actually a board member in April, which is the main advocacy NGO in France for free software. I've created card stories, like different free software games and software and projects over the years. So I've had an occasion to see it in different situations, and it's really exciting for me to see more and more of those good practice that we get from open source and free software being applied to open edX, and that's part of why I originally applied to the TOC to be there to try to accompany that, to mention the things that I've seen that needed corrections over the years, and be there also to contribute my share or share at OpenCraft to make it better.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Xavier. Regis, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me well? Awesome. So I'm Regis Bemo. I've been part of the OpenX community for close to 10 years now. I'm now VP of engineering at Edley. So I started working on OpenX while I was working at the French Ministry of Higher Education as a software engineer, and then gradually started working on other things, including Tutor, which is the now the default committee installation for OpenEdX, Docker-based. My company was acquired by Edley last year, and a couple months later, I was elected to the TOC. And yeah, I just like to take this opportunity to say that I really felt it like a privilege and an honor to be elected to the TOC. I've been part of the OpenX project as an engineer, and I'm really looking forward to helping drive the course of the project further. So yeah, extremely proud and happy to be part of the TOC.
Thanks, Regis. George, do you want to take a moment to introduce yourself as well?
Sure, yeah, thank you, Ed. Hi, everyone, I'm George. I'm from 2U, came from the edX acquisition. So I've worked at edX, worked with the open source platform for the last 6.5 years, mainly focused on the 2U side around our B2B enterprise business. But also I've been really focused most recently on how 2U continues to support open edX, but also kind of as we shift the maintenance to the community and more like figuring out the right direction and how to take that forward. I think there are some blog posts and such about that. So that's kind of been my most recent focus at 2U, is how do we continue to support the community with our kind of evolving business structure.
Thank you for that. There's some questions about that in the chat. So I think when we get to the Q&A portion, we can dive in on that. One of the things we wanted to talk about was to dive into some specific cases of kind of presentations, decisions that the TOC has made over the course of the last year. I'll note that, like myself, Xavier, and George were involved in over the course of the last year. Regis has just recently joined. So he's the newest member, and Nacho was also elected back, but he was a member of the inaugural TOC, so he was in for a year, out for a year, back in for a year. But I'll go first quickly, and I'll talk about the decision that we made around the mobile applications for OpenEdX. So many of you probably know that there have been open source versions of apps for Android and iOS for OpenEdX available for many years. They were primarily driven by the interests of edX, so they had some edX specific features in them, but they were used by members of the community, and they were themable and stylable to a degree, so definitely were valuable contribution. But about, probably a year and a half ago, community members from Raccoon Gang approached me and other members of the project to say that they had developed new versions of the mobile apps from scratch using modern technology, specifically Kotlin and Swift, Kotlin for Android and Swift for iOS, while the legacy applications were using Objective-C and Java and a mix of some Swift and Kotlin on top of that. And it looked like an opportunity to have like a leapfrog situation where we adopted a newer form of technology, lost some technical debt along the way, and deprecated the old apps and adopted the new ones. So that was a conversation that we had with the TOC to decide whether that was the right path forward. Ultimately, deciding that it was. So there are deprecation tickets opened up for the legacy apps, and there's been a lot of active development around since the original versions were were donated or contributed by Raccoon Gang, including by 2U. So 2U is kind of a full-fledged adopter of the new technology because they as well saw the value of that. So I think this is a case where it's a really big win for the community. We get newer versions of apps that are more flexible and extensible, easier to maintain and sustain, and we didn't lose any participants in them along the way. Like the people that were really using them all agreed it was the right path forward. All right. Xavier, you have a particular decision you wanted to talk about as well, right?
Sure. So yeah, we looked at the recent ones. There were quite a few, but one that stands out for me is the way we were looking at the problems with reviews in the platform. Getting a review on a pull request on code that is submitted to the platform is not always easy, predictable, or even happens in a reasonable delay. So there was first a discussion within the community about this. So there are a few forum posts that I can point to if you're interested. But that topic also went to the TOC, where we discussed that the fact that is something a bit structural that has been hindering the project for some time. So the discussion, both on the community side and the TOC, gave a few ideas, a few paths to explore. So first, we improved the monitoring of the pull requests. So with the work that Tim and Michelle do on this, got a little bit more resource, more attention on that. Then we also discussed getting contributors to as a potential escalation or delegation path when a given maintainer is not available to review for some reasons, to expand a bit the panel of people who are able to do the reviews, because that was one of the blockers. We also discussed, and that was also done afterward, advertising more the core contributor program and expanding the maintainer program. That took another round of importance given the recent change around to use maintainership, but that predated that, and that kind of helped to guide also that discussion. Then there are also some elements that just come from the history, the fact that, for example, there was no edX or 2U employee as core contributor, so kind of two different paths for contribution and maintainership. So that one is still being discussed also, but trying to have something that is more equal across the community, at least at comparable contribution level, was important. And also another idea that has been floated is to create also a lighter role for contributors who don't want to commit as much as a core contributor or maintainer would want, but might still be able to help punctually, especially on areas of expertise. Creating a lighter role could be another point. So all those points were discussed both in the community and the TOC, and actually most of that ended up being applied. Like for example, the core contributors and escalation path was experimented at first. It became something that we've established now, given the gap in maintenance and review of pull requests. So yeah, those parts were important. I think both the community discussions, because it allowed to see like concretely what's the current status, what's the blockers, maybe what are the ideas, but then to crystallize that and actually take a direction, bringing that at the TOC level was useful.
Awesome. I think probably the next best thing to do would be to ask Regis what he sees as kind of the biggest opportunities for the project, and like maybe how the TOC can help us achieve some of those opportunities.
Yes, thank you, Ed. So as an engineer, I always try to work my way up the pyramid of pain points of OpenEdX. I feel like the biggest pain point of OpenEdX, and so the biggest opportunity for improvement in OpenEdX is really extensibility, making it easier for everyone to add their changes on top of the platform and not just freeze the platform in time forever with their changes on top. That means designing an extension mechanism for OpenEdX. I think this is a huge avenue for improvement that will open up many opportunities, like opening new verticals for OpenEdX, solving problems, making OpenEdX more flexible, adaptable to a bigger variety of situations. So that's one of the, but that's the biggest issue that I would like to address. Then another one, which is more exploratory, is to consider the possibility of publishing course content. I'm saying actual courses under a Creative Commons license that anyone could publish on their own OpenEdX platform in many different languages. This would be useful in fulfilling Axum's mission, the OpenEdX project mission at large, and it would also make OpenEdX more popular, because when you launch OpenEdX, then it would mean that you have courses out of the box that you could run on your platform. So that would be extremely valuable, I think. So these are the two items that I would like to try to confront pretty soon.
Excellent. And Xavier, putting on your learner representative hat, are there, or even any other hat, are there specific opportunities that you plan to advocate for over the course of the next year?
Well, there are plenty of opportunities in the project, but I think the ones I care about personally are actually less important than the ones that I think the community can come up with, because I think that's one of the kind of the turning point currently for the project, is that for the longest time the project has been led and supported and maintained by one organization, at least originally, then split into Axum and to you. But there have been like what's called the elephant factor. For those who are not familiar with that, it's basically a measure of how many different organizations or individuals are necessary to get about 50% of the contributions made to the platform in a given period of time. So it was an obvious one elephant factor for the longest time. And lately, the change that are happening, we're still to you being pretty committed to the platform, but just like being more selective about the parts that it focuses on. It's a challenge on one side, because obviously you need to find ways to replace that, but it's also a really good opportunity to increase that factor and the rules that come with it. Because when you have one big actor that can take all the decisions that tend to not because of bad will, but just the decisions are just more focused on that use case, and over the years that can have a compounding impact. And I think having more space for the community to take its own initiative, to take more ownership about elements that we find important or interesting in the community is really important, because both on the provider side, like there have been like over the years lots of grievance and issues about that, but I know also on the pedagogical side, like it has been sometimes difficult to do exactly what you want if it was not aligned. I think now there is a bit more space for that, and I'm excited and kind of observing how much the community will take that chance, because ultimately kind of the one guide who does everything and set the directions is not behind us, because we still have guidance on the project and etc. But still, it means taking very different habits where there is no more necessarily free lunch. It means like the maintenance we want to have, like sometimes we'll need to contribute it ourselves. we'll have to find ways to build less or little things in our corner and work more with other people in the community. But a lot of those steps have started crystallizing, and we've seen already a lot more of that over the last few years. And I think we are in a phase where we can see a lot more of that. So I think some signs of that I've seen recently that I was really happy to hear about was the read of the sidebar. I know that this has been like a point of contention for people over the years, but seeing that now there is not only the space to do it, but also people, universities, staff motivated to actually do something about that. And it's welcome. It looks like, at least if the people involved do the legwork around that, that will come to pass. I think it's pretty exciting because it's not like it's core to any of the contributors who would be counted in that elephant 50%, but it's something that is important to a lot of maybe smaller actors in the community, and that gets taken on. And I think if that can be the first of many things, of like just universities using the platform, realizing that they don't need to wait on anyone, and they can actually do the work. Same thing for providers, that doing it in your corner is nice, but on the long term, maintenance is easier done with a group of other people within the community. I think that can significantly affect the project. So that's my main one. For the users, the learners in particular, I think currently they are pretty far away from our mind. I mean, they're always there because that's the end user for a lot of the platform's functionalities. But often it's through several layers. So there will be, I don't know, just the pedagogical team who is generally handling the users, the learners. Then there is each university has its own staff, and I think from the project perspective, it's actually pretty rare to be in contact with actual learners and to actually listen and integrate what they have to say. So that's to reach out to them is easier said than done, but I think there are things that we can do. Like currently, even though the software is installed on a lot of different OpenEdX instances, they are all a little bit isolated. There is not, I think, a huge, a good knowledge from users, learners, or even sometimes pedagogical staff that there is actually an OpenEdX community, that people are part of that. And I think if we use the software to like find ways to communicate a little bit with the different type of users, learners, and etc., that we have, whether it's like just by having a relay of the news of the project, a way to report bugs more directly. That can be a lot of different things. But in general, I think on that side, it would be useful to engage more with learners, because ultimately our success or not depends on many factors, but primarily on making sure that learners are able to learn well and to use the software well and can participate in the community.
Thanks for that. I want to be mindful of time. I think we're at 11 already, but I want to get into some of the questions that were asked in Slido.
Yes. We can take 15 more minutes of this time so that we can address some of the questions.
Thank you, Esteban. Appreciate it. All right, well, let's jump into the questions in Slido, and I'm going to start with the highest voted question, which was, in recent times, some OpenEdX experts have more or less left the community. What do you think about it? And why don't I take a crack at that as the first go, and then I'll bring Regis and Xavier into the conversation. Yeah, I think this is definitely true, but I think it's also true of all open source projects, and where participation is by its very nature voluntary. And there have been some events in the OpenEdX, so I always refer to what we have here as an ecosystem, and if you think about any ecosystem goes through, various processes of growth and sort of degeneration and subsequent, regrowth, like a forest. We've had some specific events, maybe you might characterize them as wildfires recently, which have caused a number of members of like longstanding members of the community to move away, and that's unfortunate. It's always a risk, but I think if you look, I think Nacho, Xavier, Regis have all, said that they, spent around 10 years working on the project. John Swope, I think, also said about 10 years. I'm in the 10-year plus category. I think we calculated the other day that Axum has more than 60 years of experience working on the platform. So using the forest metaphor, we have a strong, group of old growth trees in this forest, and we are acquiring new members all the time, and it's a matter of having a balance, making sure that we have the stability for the project to flourish and the openness to bring in new members and the on-ramps for those new members to become successful and to persist and to become old members over time. So that's kind of my position on it. There's the human side of it too. I mean, there have been folks who have been involved in the project for years who have moved on, and I'm very sad not to work with them on a day-to-day basis. But projects need to be resilient to this, and that's like our job as a community, is to make sure that this project is resilient to those sorts of changes. Regis, something you want to say about that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm not gonna lie. When some people left the project, I thought it was a very tough blow. Thinking in particular, Pierre Mayotte, Ned Batchelder.
Here's Theseus, and here
There have been others as well. That's definitely a tough blow. It's a big part of the knowledge of the community that I'm not going to be working with anymore. Plus, they're also friends. I'd like to talk a little more about how people join the project, because this is not your typical employee joining a company type of thing. So as an open source maintainer, I get pull requests and issues opened by people all over the world. And sometimes there's this person opening scrappy PR, not very good, but addressing a real need in the product. And if I take the time to reply to them nicely, explaining, okay, you should not be doing this, not be doing that, and then other people do the same in the OpenNS project, then we see this person grow and contribute more and make better and better contributions. And I've seen this cycle with multiple people in the community. Some of them are in the room today. So it's I think we should, like you said, Ed, pay attention to the trees growing in the forest. This is the sound of contributors growing in the community.
Xavier or George? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, it's really, really sad, obviously, when people leave, and there is, like that, those trees, there is no really a way to replace them. But like you mentioned, there are new people, and actually when we did the call with Regis and Nacho to ask for more people to take on maintainership, there was a good answer. Like some of them were old timers, like Felipe Dunex was already there immediately, and that was great. But there were also quite a few new names, like I will give Mahendra, Yagnesh, Chintan, Fateme. I mean, some of them were a little bit on the community, but I've like that also gave a space, I think, for them to like try to commit a bit more, or at least see that the need for them to commit was there. And I mean, kudos to you for doing that step, because I remember from when I was starting as a contributor, it's terrorizing, because you're surrounded by a lot of people who are super knowledgeable, who are good technically, know the community, all the relationships are established. You feel like the intruder in the room. And it takes a lot to just like come and say, hey, I would like to say something. I would like to contribute something. And they are doing it, and I think it's great. That's what we need. And ultimately, no project can survive just on the old timers. It really requires like continuous renewal and new people joining it. So So thanks for that. Yeah, you're basically helping the project to grow for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I'll echo that. Obviously, I think a fair number of them came from the 2U side of things, and so personally difficult for sure. People I work with every day in my day job. At the same time, seeing the resiliency and the community really step up encourages me that the project is much bigger than just edX or 2U. It's a community project, and so that really gives me confidence and like hopefulness that the communities pick this up. We're all better because while it's difficult right now and there's some transitions, especially on the 2U side, I think it does make the project stronger in the long run, and we're seeing that in action right now. So I want to echo Xavier just said, thank you to those who have stepped up, and encourage everyone to get involved where you can. And that's just, I see it as a bit of a rallying cry for the community to continue to come together as we have in the last, continued to as we have in the last years, strengthen each other through that. So we really appreciate the community's involvement and engagement.
Awesome. The next most highly voted question is, what metrics are the TOC using to measure the project's impact? And I mean, that's something I can say a little bit about, and then have other folks chime in. I mean, I think it was about probably 18 months ago or so, and this was the TOC reviewed and participated in producing this artifact, but it was mostly driven by Axum around the time of the separation. We created an annual report. It was the first one that we had done for the Open edX project to report on, and I could put a link in chat at some point, but to report on what we thought the impact of the project was in terms of our mission of democratizing education and making education available to everyone everywhere, and measuring things like the number of deployments of the platform, the number of learners who have taken courses on it, the number of courses that have been produced on the platform. We'd like to have even better metrics. We'd like to be able to say that Open edX is contributing to real life outcomes on the part of learners. I mean, I think that would be the gold standard of a metric of impact. Other metrics that we track were around the health of the community. Xavier referred to the elephant factor earlier. We want to make sure that we have sufficient organizational diversity to have a sustainable project that's robust to any single member of the community, leaving. We have, somebody asked a question in Slido also about 2U's financial situation. 2U is, an important member of the project, but we think that over the last 2 years, we've been specifically investing in changing our elephant factor so that we would be robust to any eventualities, including 2U's, sort of departure. But I don't think that's going to happen. So just let's put that to bed. I mean, 2U is going to remain a strong member of our community. I'm confident in that. But if there were a worst case scenario situation, I'm also confident that the project would be robust to that. What about anybody else want to chime in with some thoughts about metrics? Or if you want to put in chat, if you're in the audience, what metrics you think we should be measuring, that would also be useful to hear.
I'd just like to say that I'm not big on metrics, but I'm going to be speaking anyway. So I'm not big on metrics because we tend to optimize for a single metric, and that's bad. Okay, this is typical argument. For instance, okay, the number of installations, that's a great factor, but if we run OpenX only for affluent people who've already been to universities and already graduated for a master, then I would say that this does not fulfill OpenX vision. I would rather have less installations, but more with better spread, better geographical spread, better diversity. Yeah, just beware of the single metric thing.
since we're opening the door to productive conflict on the podium, here's a metric that I care a lot about, which is how long it takes to upgrade an instance from one named release to another. That would be a metric that I would like to move over the course of the next year.
Did you see my speedrun video? I
Yes.
did that in 22 minutes.
I haven't seen it, but now I'm going to go find it and check it out. Xavier or George, do you have any final word on what we are and what we should be measuring in terms of the impact?
Yeah, I mean, I say like I like metrics, so some conflict here. I think metrics can help us drive what we want forward. It lets us provide some focus. So, for example, the metric around days to land a PR, we know that was a challenge. If we start measuring that, then we can start addressing it. So that was one that the community was feeling a lot of pain around how long it would take to actually get their PR reviewed and landed. Having the numbers and the metrics behind that lets us be able to focus on that and be able to see the improvements and make sure that what we're doing is actually having an impact.
Yeah, I guess you get a little feel for some of the discussions in the TOC with that. I'm also liking numbers and things. I do agree with the fact that you can't be too obsessive about one thing. Just like it doesn't need to be metrics. If you just focus on one thing, you are to the detriment of everything else. That's never going to work super well. But yeah, they help to at least monitor things and have concrete goals. Yeah, I think like the ones around community turnaround time is important. I think volume contributed also by a non-2U or non-Axim is still an important one. It's related to the elephant factor in some ways, but yeah, for like just keeping an eye on that, making sure that like there is like an effort being made by whom and etc. is also important information to be able to direct the project. And I guess some of the ones that we haven't talked about are more like, that's typically I think something recurrent with the project. We haven't really talked about indicators for pedagogical goals or user goals and etc. But that could be something to integrate to again try to go a little bit more toward the users, spend more time with them, measuring what they do, getting comments on, I don't know, what are the top voted features that they would put. I have no idea currently, and that would be useful even if we don't do exactly that.
Yep. We're really close to time, but I'm going to give Xavier a chance to say one quick thing because we've got this question here. What are the broad areas of focus for the TOC? And Xavier has been working on kind of documentation and mechanisms for getting topics in front of the TOC, from the community. Oops, sorry, my keyboard. Xavier, do you want to say a quick word about that?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there is not really a limit to what the TOC can deal with. Actually, unlike the name says, technical committee, it's not just technical. It can be governance topics, broader area that affect the platform. It's kind of the governance committee of the platform. So anything can go there, but obviously not everything will go, because otherwise the TOC will just be a bottleneck. So that's why generally we don't really expect issues to go back to the TOC as a routine thing. It's more like, and Ed was mentioning at the beginning, when it's really a big decision, when there is no consensus within the community, or simply when people in the community feel it's useful to have like some input. So what Ed was referencing is an OEP that's still in draft, but is meant to give a mechanism for anyone in the community to bring up topic to the TOC. So that I can send a link to that draft afterwards, but the gist of it is creating a discussion on the forum first, and then if you get like core contributors or TOC members to validate the request to put it in front of the TOC, that will go into the next meeting basically. So that's one way where if you see a topic that the TOC doesn't seem to have been looking at and is important, that's something you will be able to do. And because I saw also that question, if you're looking for notes from meetings, so typically to have answers to that, know what has been discussed in the past, they are posted on the forum. If you look for the TOC label on the forum, same thing, I can send an email. You'll find.
I also I linked
sorry.
them in a reply to that message. So yeah.
Perfect. Okay. All right.
Well,
So
I linked to the wiki. Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Can I add just one thing? So if you'd like to put something on the TOC roadmap, or you like anything discussed, but you don't want to post this in a public forum, please do get in touch. I mean, we don't know everything that is happening in OpenX, and you might be facing some super important problem for yourself, but we might not know about it. Yeah, we would like the TOC not to be an ivory tower. So please do get in touch. You probably already know where to find us.
Great.
Actually,
Well,
we even have an email, I think, no, for this ask dash TOC at openedx.org, if I remember correctly.
Great. Well, so sorry to interrupt. We are running a little bit out of time. So first, I want to thank you, all of you, for being here. I think it's very, very welcome. You're more than welcome for a future meetup, because I think it's a very good window that we can see what's going on in the governance with the TOC. So thank you, and everyone, just feel free to continue the conversations with the TOC members or with John in the unstructured area, the other room from Gather. TOC will be in carpet E and John will be in carpet D. And again, thank you everyone for being here, and well, hope to see you in the next meetup. Bye everyone.
Thanks so much, Esteban.